And welcome back. Now, security service provider the Red Ants can now continue to carry out evictions and demolitions after their license was suspended months ago. The Private Security Industry Regulatory Authority, or Zira, halted the company from operating following an uproar when its employees demolished shacks and structures in Alexandra Township at the end of May. Now, last week, the High Court in Pretoria uplifted the suspension, but the Private Security Industry Regulatory Authority says that this is an interim order and that they will continue to monitor the activities of the Red Ants very closely. So to tell us more about this, we're joined now by Advocate Linda Mbana, who is Executive Head of Law Enforcement at the authority. Thanks so much for coming through this morning.
Thank you for having me.
I guess this is a good opportunity, before we get into the specifics of the Red Ants and what happened in Alexandra, to just talk to Zira, the authority, and what it is that Zira does.
Okay. Zira is a regulator, and its responsibility is to regulate the industry. Its main responsibility is to make sure that it exercises effective control over the practice of the occupation of the security service providers in the country for the interest of the public, the national interest, as well as the industry itself. By so doing, we must make sure that we promote a legitimate industry that works within the confines of the law, and we must make sure as the regulator that the industry is professionalized as well as there is a stability in the industry. So in the main, that's what we are doing as Zira, as the regulator.
So the Red Ants have over many years, been in the spotlight. Why has it taken this particular instance for Zira to act as they have against the Red Ants?
When we receive, as the regulator, complaints from the people that are victims, it's our responsibility not to jump by suspending or by withdrawing. We have to investigate matters thoroughly with a fine-tooth comb before we act. So we received the complaints from different people in the country that were apparently victimized or allegedly victimized by the Red Ants during evictions, and we started by investigating. So we must make sure that we first investigate thoroughly before we act.
So speaking more specifically to the instance in Alexandra, you conducted an investigation there as well. What were your findings?
We are still busy now with our code of conduct internally, so I won't be able to actually stipulate what the findings are, but I must indicate that the allegations that were leveled against the Red Ants, we managed to pick up after the investigation that some of them are genuine.
So looking at the current situation, the upliftment of the suspension by the High Court, what does that mean? And you saying that you will continue to monitor the situation. So just bring us up to speed with what all of this means exactly.
The Red Ants brought an application which was twofold, which was talking about upliftment of the suspension as well as the reviewal of the appeal that was dismissed by the appeals committee. So what happened is, the only part that was entertained is part A, which was talking about the upliftment of the suspension. So the order that is there is an interim order that is talking about the upliftment of the suspension, pending us going back to court to finalize part B, which is talking about the reviewal of the appeal. So we received that judgment as Zira, and we are not really happy with the judgment, but because we need to comply, we really have to comply, and we uplifted the suspension because we respect the rule of the law. There are cases that are decided. One of them is a National Treasury case that was saying the courts and or judges will really interfere with the mandate of the regulator only when there is a clear-cut case. So from our side, we are not really happy, but we respect the rule of the law.
But why are you unhappy, given that your investigation hasn't yet been concluded?
We are not happy because before we suspended the company, we dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's and made sure that the investigation is watertight. So from where we are sitting, we need to ensure that justice is done. And when justice is done is when we are not getting complaints as a regulator that there is a company that is actually victimizing people in the country. So we wanted the company to remain suspended until we finalize all the processes. But sadly, the appeal has been uplifted.
And speak to us still with regard to this unhappiness that you are expressing. Why are you so unhappy? What is it that you have found the red ants to have transgressed?
From the investigations that we did, as well as from the affidavits that we received from people that were affected, we found out that some of the properties of these people were demolished, and their rights were really violated. So that is what we found after the investigations at Zira. So we need to make sure that we do everything with a fine-tooth comb and finalize all the process. I must also indicate that the intention of the regulator is not to close down all the companies that are there, but is to ensure that there is compliance in the industry. So when we say company B has done A, B, C, D, and we investigate, we are not targeting a particular company, but we are acting within our mandate as Zira, as a regulator, to ensure that justice is done and to ensure that there is compliance.
So what's the next step for you now?
The next step is to go back to court, because the matter, like I indicated, the judgment is an interim one, is to go back to court to finalize the case. But I must indicate that there are cases that are running internally regarding red ants. We are also wrapping those cases up. It will depend, after the matters are finalized, what will happen going forward.
So as things stand right now, what would be the ideal situation for Zira regarding the red ants?
Previously, we spoke with the management of red ants to indicate that they must involve us whenever they are doing the evictions, so that we can assist to try to eliminate all the complaints that we are receiving. So we're expecting them to come back to us whenever they will have evictions, so that we can check their operational plan and check whether everything is in line with the relevant pieces of legislation. If that is done that way, and we are also there with them during these evictions, it will eliminate all the complaints that are out there.
But are they the only company under your jurisdiction who carry out evictions?
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them.
And do you expect the same of all those other companies, and are they compliant?
We haven't thus far received any complaint regarding the other companies. The only complaints that we received and the only allegations that we received were about the red ants. So if we also receive complaints about the other companies, we'll follow the same route, the same process, investigate and make sure that compliance is there.
Well, thank you so much for stopping by and bringing us up to speed with the latest regarding the red ants. And that was Advocate Linda Mbana, Executive Head of Law Enforcement at the Private Security Industry Regulatory Authority, or Zira, and talking to us about the red ants. So as it stands, as per this latest court ruling, the red ants are back in business, back in operation. But of course, Zira haven't yet concluded all their investigations. And as Advocate Mbana indicated there, they will be concluding that, and they will be heading back to court because they are not pleased with the current situation, but that suspension is uplifted as per a court order at the moment. Right, that brings us up to just about news time.